the sound right now. Here from the Pacific Northwest in Paulsbo, Washington.
Just a 30-minute ferry ride from Seattle.
This is
Mine Too,
a podcast about today's issues about raising teens.
that just might leave you saying,
Hey, mine too. We are your hosts. I'm Trish,
and I'm Jenny,
former teenagers.
now raising our own. All right, so today's topic, Trish, what are we talking about today in episode 2?
Season 1.
Season 1, episode 2 of
Mine Too.
Mine Too.
But T.
Oh,
Okay.
not T-O, that's not proper. Grammarly.
Yeah, that's
Grammatical.
exactly. You pronounced that well. So, what we're going to talk about today, Jenny, is why can't we share everything with everyone? You hear, why can't we share everything with everyone? What's the first thing that kind of pops into your mind?
Drugs, like the fact that someone's kids might be doing drugs. You don't post that on Facebook. Hey, I just found drugs in my kid's room.
Yeah, because a lot of people's first thought would be like,
Oh,
what are you doing wrong?
exactly. Well, and let me back up just a little bit and kind of point to why I wanted to do this podcast in the first place. It was, I saw somebody posted something lamenting because her kids are just like launching into their teen years and having a really hard time. And she is like, why aren't we talking about this stuff? And I was like, I've been saying that for a long time. But I also can answer why we're not talking about this stuff, because these kids are almost adults. We have relationships with them. They're on Facebook or Instagram or wherever we might be sharing it. And we might be sharing it in coffee shops or somewhere one-on-one with friends. But we're not sharing, like people are sharing a lot on social media, the great pictures, these accomplishments, this award for this and that, but we're not, because you can't.
Yeah, it will embarrass your teen. It will shame them.
It would shame them. And then there's probably shame on the parents' part.
There is a lot of shame on the parent.
I wish we could have Brene Brown come in
I know.
Brene, if you're listening.
Yeah, that would be super cool, right?
Right.
So
But
I think as parents, number one, we're not going to advertise, something negative about your child because it's just, or your teen, because it's just disrespectful.
I mean, it's one thing to put on Facebook the fact that your toddler smeared the contents of a diaper
Thank you.
on the wall versus, I don't know, a mess you might find because, teenage girls may or may not have just started their period.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to post about that.
There's a learning curve.
Because number one, your daughter will just crumble if she
Right.
finds out you talked about that. But there are some things.
People have told us things like this.
Yes, and
These things are happening.
and it's humbling, I think, as a parent to have the nerve to share something kind of gross or weird or different that your teen did, but then to have the other parent go, mine too, mine does that too, and you're just like, are you freaking kidding me?
I am not alone.
I'm not alone. But you got to just kind of, it's hard to get over that shame. Like, maybe my kid's doing this because of how I parented them.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I have found that my kids have made some poor decisions. And sometimes I think to myself, okay, I know who parented you, and you know better. So sometimes I know that in my heart. But to publicly say, here's what they've done, and then people are like, you know.
And, kind of on that shame topic, like people will say to me, give me a compliment on my kids, and I will say, I'm not going to take that compliment because I'm not going to take the blame.
Sure.
And then it comes down to nature, nurture, whatever. I don't know. You can never know for sure. And some of this stuff is just common to being a teenager.
Yeah, it's like totally, it's what stage and age appropriate.
It's development. And we need to bring in some books and talk about some of that development, because I think it really is comforting to realize, oh, that's really normal.
Well, and for heaven's sakes, people, remember how you were. Mm-hmm. I look back at some of the stuff I did as a teenager, and it's like, what the heck? Mm-hmm. What was I even thinking? But yet, I can see another teenager or one of my children doing something, and I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, and I tend to forget. Mm-hmm. Oh, I had that same mindset.
Well, and I have an example, and I almost hate to say it because if my family listens to it, I'm in trouble.
Well, probably our teens aren't going to be riveted by this.
No, they wouldn't have got past the first word. I remember I had to have been a teen, or at least a tween, and my mom lost it on me because, or maybe it was my dad, I don't even know, because I was walking down the hallway to my bedroom and I just stepped over some trash that was laying in the hallway. Apparently. I remember that fight because I did not see that piece of paper. And I got in just rip-roaring trouble over not picking it up and leaving the trash for somebody else and all that. And I can't tell you how many times I've had that same fight with my kids, and they insist they didn't see. And sometimes they probably haven't. Sometimes they probably have. There's been one time I left just a piece of paper on the stairs. Just left it there for a week. No one picked it up. And I don't know, at what point is it something that they chose not to do or something that they didn't? And if you don't care about it like a mom cares, then maybe you see different things. Anyways, so I just say all that to say, I remember literally not seeing something and getting in trouble for it.
Yeah, they don't think it, and neither did I.
Yeah.
And somehow we need to get to that point where we can look at our teen and maybe think, how did we think?
Yeah.
Or share it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, great platform to share your stories. If anything, just to get it out in the light.
Or get it off your chest.
Get it off your chest. Get it out into the light. And so other parents can be free to go, mine too. Oh my gosh, yes. But it is tough when you go from this toddler where you can just share all the messy, weirdo, gross things that your toddler did, but you can't share that about your teen.
Yeah, or even like the funny stuff, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I gotta share. They're like, no.
Oh, I know.
You were so limited in what you can put out there. And you know, back when we were kids and teenagers, we didn't have the threat of our parents sharing all the cute.
Oh no.
And all the stuff. So I mean, that's an issue.
No, I mean, I would be devastated. Like if I walked in and my mom was sharing something about me with my aunt, you know, they're oh, wasn't Trish so funny? Well, as a teenager, number one, you probably don't think it's funny because that's real life in the moment.
Right.
And
good point, Trish.
Yeah, thank you. And can you just imagine though, now with social media, their friends are telling them about it.
So I guess what I'm pulling out of our very organic conversation here, shame.
Yeah.
And also just privacy concerns. What else is there? Maybe pride, shame, privacy. I don't know. Is that everything?
Yeah, well, yes. I think pride and shame. It's kind of like bitterness and forgiveness. Kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's off topic. And Jenny, I think it can go in the reverse too. we could overshare real positive stuff on Facebook. When I was a single mom,
Right.
I would just dread some people's posts on Facebook. Oh, spring break, look what we're doing, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, it's spring break. I'm still working my 3 jobs and my son is watching my daughter. We don't go anywhere. And obviously, I don't think people do that to hurt other people.
Right.
I don't think so. They don't think. I am now very conscious about what I post on social media.
Like my daughter who's gotten good roles, I will choose to wait to be like, I'm so proud of her, just to give time.
Yes.
I don't know that has anything to do with parenting teens or anything, but it has to do with social media and kind of the message that we're sending other people. And like with Lucy in particular, I will share this, like when she got on the cheer team, and I asked her after I took it a little while later, I was like, can I share this? I found out that probably I don't share those proud moments enough, just because I've been on the other side of it.
And it depends on the kid.
And it absolutely depends on the kid. So, I mean, that's part of the conversation too, is why we do or don't share, is because we really should be weighing their opinion, because it affects our relationship with them and their trust in us.
Definitely,
and so important.
Our trust. And I'm always kind of skeptical. I am always suspicious of people that will post bad ranting stuff about their children.
Oh, yes.
Or about their teenager.
Good point. Yep.
Like those videos of, like the dad cutting the daughter's hair off because she got highlights when she wasn't supposed to.
Sure, yeah.
So it seems like you've got to almost find that balance between praising your kid so much online, knowing that when other kids are praised a lot, maybe how it makes your teen feel. Do you kind of know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
But then on the other hand, you don't want to shame them. I don't know. Maybe what we're saying is social media probably isn't.
Well, I think it kind of is. It goes hand in hand, and we are definitely talking a lot about social media. And I think like that person that I said who was like, why aren't people sharing more? It was on Facebook, and I think that was her issue specifically, was online, and just friends and resources, whatever that you can find online. There's so many for like toddlers and even babies and young kids. But when it comes down to it, when you're scrolling, there's very little. But what about even cars? More information about driver safety, more information. I don't know. Just there's so many issues and so many little details that we could be, and that's not even a shame thing, but it's not as popular.
Well, we'll be quick to share with our friends, oh, look, my daughter just got her license. Isn't that great? Look, this is her first drive in her car. I'm probably not going to share if I pulled up to a stop sign and my daughter was texting, which I've not caught her doing this. You know what I think it is we have to find the appropriate venue. To have those conversations.
Right. And that's why we're doing this without faces.
Yes.
This podcast.
Because we want, like if you call in,
Or,
write in, email.
Email.
If you email us, we would obviously respect your privacy, names change, voice changing.
Just tell us, and we've talked about having a voice changer.
If somebody wanted to come on the show, our show,
yes.
We would be happy to have you tell your story, or can be kind of like a Dear Abby sort of thing where you can remain anonymous.
But we also want to be we don't want it to be a
session
fest. Can we say that?
We can say that because that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're not here to just Oh my gosh, my teen does this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
No.
my teen does that.
Because we love teenagers.
Oh my gosh.
We used to
Huge.
be teenagers.
We were teenagers. I was really, really good at it.
I was good
We
at
could
it.
get my dad on here and ask him
Oh.
about that. In fact, there has been times where my daughter will get a little sassy with me, and I'll look at my dad and go, will she always be that way? And he will say to me, well, I don't know, Trish, why don't you look in the mirror? And it's like, oh, okay, so yeah.
But to bring it back around, our vision is not to knock teenagers, or we do love them. Not only do we used to be them, but we have them and we love them, and they're amazing creatures. But we know how hard it is. It's some of the hardest work we've ever done. And in talking to friends and other parents, there are people out there who feel really alone. They feel like they're crazy. They just feel desperate. And so we want to talk about this stuff because we shouldn't be feeling so desperate, because we literally are not alone.
There are people sitting there just thinking, gosh, if people actually knew what my teen is doing, they would be completely appalled.
And they would hate me. They would think I'm the
they
most
wouldn't want my
terrible
teen
person.
over at their house, or they'd think, what kind of place am I running at my home?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much stuff that's just a teen. I mean, I seriously, I love teens.
Yes.
I love other people's teens.
That's a
I
big
can't say I always love other people's children, which is horrible, so I probably shouldn't say that. But I always love someone else's teen, especially I love bubbly, outgoing teens. I love snarky teens. I probably the only kind
you
of
have a gift.
well,
You do. Have a
probably
gift
the
with
only kind
teens.
of teen I struggle with is the what's that guy's name? Cleaver, not Beaver Cleaver. Eddie Haskell.
Oh yeah, those are.
But
tough.
even them, they're
yeah.
I love the teen. I love the teen, and I would love for people to just talk about it, or listen to us, and we can share people's stories. And you go, seriously? I mean, those women seem semi-normal, and they've experienced that. Well, maybe it's not so bad, though.
It's bad, but you're just not alone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's bad. And the longer you listen to us, I would assume the more you'll like us.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty decent. But
Depending on the day.
Depending on the day. Parenting a teen. It's just tough business. It's messy. And not that beautiful messy people talk about. Oh, like a hot mess.
Oh yeah.
Is that like a good thing? If you're a hot mess, if you're pretty and you're hot?
I guess, but
That doesn't mean
it means
anything.
you're pretty and you're a mess.
Yeah, so
I think what it is okay, here it is.
I'm listening.
I knew early on, like when my son was born, that I was shocked at how much of a little will he had, and how I really couldn't force my will upon his will, but I worked to raise him and train him and teach him right from wrong and all that. But I could put him in a car seat, he was in a crib. For the most part, my kids, when they were young, were under my rule and following in my general direction, even if they jumped out of their crib.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And you spent
Okay.
all these years buckling them into this car seat and really kind of forcing some rules.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And now that they're older, it's different. What I thought it's my house and my rules, and there is still that, but there is a lot more gray.
Yes.
It's a lot.
That is a good point.
Maybe we should have named the podcast "A Lot More Gray."
A lot more gray. Because there is, and I think we tend to live in the black and the white. This is right, this is wrong. there are so many reasons our teens do wrong things. A lot of it is just that's how they're wired, or their age, or sometimes they just don't think. It's nothing personal. They don't think.
Yes.
But it's easier for someone else to point out, well, hey, maybe your kid's just not thinking, and you know, we go to. I think we automatically just go to. They should know better. They should.
Right.
Well, you know, everybody knows this. Well, who's everybody?
Who is everybody? Good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, I mean, who's this everybody knows this? I probably didn't know that at that age. Why should they know that?
Yeah.
And why do we assume we're a failure as a parent? Because I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
it's true. I mean, like I said before, I don't take the credit,
yeah,
and I do take a little bit of the credit, but I also do take a little bit of the blame. But I think we're taking too much of both, because I feel like we really need to be working at seeing our children that are taller, sometimes taller and bigger than us, as their own autonomous human.
yeah,
And realizing this is the next step in their maturity. Granted, they're living in our house under our rules, and where it's hard, I think, is their own will, their own way, and they're not fully, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, so we can see things that they can't see.
So then why don't we talk about this more? I mean, that sounds so rational. It sounds like like you'd go, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yet we don't. Again, I get why we don't talk about this stuff publicly and be like, my kid did this. Because I think when people usually do that, it's probably out of shame. But then again, I guess, what would people do out of desperation? How would you express that without being judged?
So that's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
To offer a place to hear stories. Hopefully people will share them. I mean, there's such a long list. There's, depression. There's
Raging hormones that make no freaking sense.
Dating rules. There's driving, and there's clothing.
Yeah. There's drugs and alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol, peer pressure, social media. At what age should they be using social media? Just because COPA says they can at 13 doesn't mean that they should.
Correct.
And I think social media just bleeds into almost all the other topics.
Oh, absolutely.
Too,
I mean, there is so much stuff that goes on behind closed doors that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, like a very, very surface level issue would, let's just say, my daughter's bedroom. Okay. I literally have this kid who's a really good student. And she dresses nice. And her hair always looks good. And then you go into her room and you're like, how did that come out of that? And I mean, I'm a pretty minimalist in my stuff. And my daughter just simply loves to collect things.
Well, I remember you came over and you saw Lucy and Libby's room, and I think you took pictures of both rooms.
I did.
Because you're like, I'm not alone.
No,
and
it
you
was
sent
like,
it to Chuck, right?
Yeah, it was an absolute mine too moment. Because it was such an issue in our house. I mean, I cared about it, but my husband probably cared more about it.
Right.
And so to see other people's mess just was wonderful. And I don't mean that as a tit for tat, like I showed my husband, like, oh, she's not the only one. But just for me going, okay, well, I think Jenny's a pretty good parent.
Thank you, Trish.
You're welcome. Yet her daughter's rooms are as trashed as mine. So it really has nothing to do with us. And I don't know why we think it does.
Yeah, yes. Well put.
Yeah.
High five on
Thank you.
Okay, bam. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and that is a wrap for episode 2. Join us next time in episode 3 when we talk about how messy teenagers are, and we dig in deep and discuss, is this normal? Are we crazy? Don't miss that one.
We know y'all are sharing all the cool and impressive.
And that one judgy friend on Facebook.
Wait, one? We're sharing aha moments where you realize this.
So email us mind2podcast@gmail.com. If you like our show and want to know more, check us out at mind2podcast.com and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast at. Podcast on?
Yeah, we can get it on.
Where you get your podcast on.